Good evening, how are we all this evening? You can probably hear I have got a heater on because it's a bit chilly. So I'm just looking to see if there's anybody about. I don't blame you if you're not. If you're all on the sofa with a blanket on, that is absolutely fine because it is bitter out there. And it's a bit of a surprise because we've had really mild. So good evening if you are there. Carol's there. Carol has been very busy. She has been stamping and creating and stuff. So if you're in our Stamps Away group, have a look at her stuff. She's been doing some lovely bits and pieces. Starting with an apology. Advent calendars. The end is in sight with them. The first lot will be going Friday. Apologies for the delay, but Paul went to town. I don't mean literally, I mean metaphorically. The 10 exclusive kits are the best we've ever done in an advent calendar, particularly 25. These aren't just like £1 or £2 kits. Some of them are like, would be £10 kits. So there's a lot of cutting and sanding and stuff, and he wanted to make sure you had really comprehensive instructions for them. So they are getting packed now. So those of you that have ordered them, they will be with you plenty of time for the 1st of December. But good evening. You're sitting in your PJs and an hoodie to keep warm. I don't blame you. I confess the boys have got their fleeces on. For the first time ever, Tonka actually fits in one. He's lost a little bit of weight, so he actually fits in. So he's got his fleeces on. I'll try and get a picture of them later because they've got matching ones, which is ever so cute. So yes, apologies on the advent calendars, but I assure you they are worth the wait. The little bits lurking behind me are the lesser of the kits. They're the sort of, but there's 3 kits he's done that are just out of this world. So 25th being particularly good. Right, so no peeping if you are when they arrive, okay? So what are we going to do tonight? We are going to play with the Gingerbread Men stamps, or Gingerbread Christmas, because it's the last one of the Christmas ones that we haven't done a sort of dedicated Facebook on. So we will play with this, and just to refresh your memory on it, 'tis this one. So it's got the houses, it's got the characters, it's got loads of little usable, that little Christmas tree is just so cute. So if you're doing quick cards and toppers and gift tags, really handy. You've got candy canes, you've got the little borders. If you do shaker cards and stuff like that, these are your go-tos. Gingerbread is really in this year. If you go round the likes of B&M, The Range, gingerbread houses are one of the themes that you're seeing. There's like a few different themes and gingerbread, whereas it was Little Red Truck last year. Disappointing it's not this year because I need to extend my collection of Little Red Trucks. But yeah, so it's gingerbread. So we're going to have a play with this, and I have got a list, don't read it, of things that I want to show you, but it is very much let's see what we can do with this stamp set. So let's get started. If anybody knows me, knows that I absolutely love gingerbread men, and gingerbread men are for life, not just for Christmas. So I'm looking for my A5 white card. Can anybody help me? Oh, there it is. So I'm a big fan of gingerbread men and gingerbread and anything ginger, in fact, including Marvin. So this was, as soon as I saw this stamp set when we were collecting stock from Hobby Art, it's like, yep, that one's coming with me because I just love gingerbread men. And I just think the way they are, they're sort of got that paper chainy feel. So I was going to do a card idea. Won't be the full card, but I just, talking of ginger, here he appears. You coming, Marv? You coming to say hello? Hello, darling. Right. So there is Mr. Gingerbread and Mrs. Gingerbread. I'll do Mrs. Gingerbread in the middle and Mr. Gingerbread here. So I'm going to keep this fairly simple, but I just saw this sort of idea in my head. Are you coming to say hello, mate? Oh. Hang on. You coming up? You coming up to say hello? No, he's not going to. And I haven't got a camera that faces down there. Right. So I folded my card. I'm working on a card blank and I'm just going to stamp them down the edge here. I'm going to keep swapping between his and hers. So I'm doing something I don't normally do, which is work double-sided on my block. Mrs. Gingerbread had been used for something else earlier, so I'm just going to stick her back down. No, she's not going to. Right, let me just clean the back of her. Actually, I'm going to leave her for a minute because I'm going to mess her up again in a minute. So we'll just use Mr. So I'm just sort of tiling them, not even tiling them, just having them. They kind of fit inside each other's legs a little bit there. I want to make a feature of this middle one. So I'm going to stamp him. So 2 reasons why. One, I just messed up the stamping. So there is always a way of hiding it. But I did want to make one of the gingerbread people a little bit more dominant. So I was going to colour it in with pencil, but as I've messed up the stamping, I might as well stamp him onto a piece of paper. And then I'm going to stamp onto another piece of paper. I don't need all of him this time. I only actually want his scarf. And I think we'll give him a green scarf. So I'm just stamping that on a scrap of patterned paper. So I'm going to do some quick cutting out. Remember, if you're cutting out and you haven't embossed, cut just outside the line. Okay. I could go in with my white pencil and pick out his icing if I wanted to. Okay. Up round his legs. I mean, they are nice and simple shapes to cut out, but they are very much a generic gingerbread man shape. There's no doubt what it is, if you know what I mean. From the back of it, it's the classic cookie cutter shape. So if you are making things like the biscuit mixes and stuff like that, this is the one you want on your label. You know what I mean by the biscuit mix, where you put all the dry ingredients in a nice mason or kilner jar or something. So my phone's just vibrated because the motion sensor's gone off on the camera. It can't be the squirrel at this time of night. So I suspect it's the neighbour's light. Come on, this always seems a bit cruel. I'm just going to chop his head off. Save that for later. So we're just going to cut his scarf out. And I'm cutting quickly here. But I was going to do this with Mrs. Gingerbread. Because you can cut out and paper piece her pinny. That's a lot of peas. But as I say, because of the technique I was just messing about with, I hadn't cleaned the back of her, so she's not sticking to the block. So I'm just going to add his scarf. I've missed a bit of his scarf. That bit, I'll find that in a minute. Right, so once we've got your basic card stamped, what I'm going to do is cut around and give it a sort of a gingerbread edge, like this. So it's going to have a fancy edge. And we can then create a little panel behind with a bit of interest in as well, because we've got these stamps in the set. So just cutting the basic edges so that you've got a fancy shape. Then to make the fancy shape show up more, let's do some stamping. So we're working on this edge. Let's get some ink down. It's gingerbread, so we'll go with a little bit of walnut stain. Okay, so that's going to make the gingerbread stand out. You could do the whole panel if you want. See, so that's giving you your little edge there. And then because we've got these really funky little stamps within the set, we can make it a bit of a patterned paper. So coming in with the sweeties. And remember, if you're trying to do random, always stamp off the page as well as on the page. And if you can, get into the habit of rotating it so that you're getting different directions. Sometimes it's harder with a small stamp to do that, because especially if you've got it on a larger block like I have, it's very easy to sort of get it in an uncomfortable position, so you tend to end up with sort of maybe one or two angles that's easier to do. So it's sometimes with the smaller stamp it's actually harder. And then we're going to come in with the smaller sweetie. Could change my ink pad if I wanted to add a bit more interest, but I just think these stamps are really good for creating a little bit of a sort of collagey look. Do you notice I hesitated there because I wasn't sure that sweetie was going to fit? So don't commit unless you know it's going to fit. Then you've got that pattern paper that you've just created behind there. You could do a similar matching thing there, but what I would do is mask it off so you're getting like a ribbon effect. And there you've got a really simple way of using the gingerbread man. One colour one makes him pop out. So it would be nice if it was, she's getting sticky again now. She'd show you why in a minute. So that's one little thing you can do with them. Who was late? Right, Amanda's found us. You're not too late, Lucy, don't worry. Arwen, hello. Maureen, hello. Sarah, Hazel, you will love this. I only have 6 more Christmas cards to finish. I'm super impressed, Hazel. I just need to explain to everybody. Hazel normally shouts at me if I mention the word Christmas. Like, you know, she'll start to accept it at the beginning of November, but yeah, it's a push. So yes, super impressed. Well done. You've got homework as well, Hazel. I don't know if you've seen Sue yet, but you've got a lot of homework. We made you a homework bag. We'll be checking in next week. Oh, talking of next week's going to be a pre-recorded one because I am at a garden centre, not shopping. Well, like I say, I'm not supposed to be shopping. I'm glass fusing at a Christmas glass fusing at a garden centre. But in order to, because they have 2 garden centres, and in order to fit one in one day and one in the other, I had to do one on a Wednesday, so I do apologise. Right, Mrs. Gingerbread. What I'm going to do is I've turned her upside down. I just need a bit of card. I'm going to get a different bit so we can still see the stamps there. Let me just grab another bit. So, Mrs. Gingerbread is upside down on my acrylic block. I am then going to apply some walnut stain to the back of Mrs. Gingerbread. And I'm spritzing it with some water. And then I'm going to flip her over. I'm just going to put her right in the middle of this piece of card, just so we can see. And press it down firmly with the acrylic block. Okay, so what we now have is a gingerbread shaped blob. And what I think with this is the gingerbread characters in the stamp set are very much characters. They're not to look like cookies. They are gingerbread people. So I thought if you did this on with the back of them, you get that kind of spread, which gives it more of a cookie look. So I've now turned her back over. And I haven't got a decent white ink pad. And I also can't find my white embossing powder. So I do happen to have some white gesso. It is adorable, isn't it, Kelly? Yeah. But I'm just seeing gift tags, banners, all sorts of things. Recipe cards. And as I say, gingerbread is not just for Christmas, says she with a gingerbread man tattoo. Right, so the only white I'd got was white gesso. Not the best thing to stamp with. So what I did was I inked up my stamp with a sponge with a bit of gesso on, and then position it roughly over the top and press down. Not pressing too firmly. Now you can see there is a little bit of it there, but it's not overly strong. So I could come on with embossing powder if I'd got some white, but the gesso is a little bit thick for that. But what I discovered was, if I clean my stamp, if you are using gesso on your stamps, just give them a little spritz with some water and get it off as best you can fairly quickly, and then give them a proper clean later with toothbrush and some soap. Is if I now over stamp this, so it gave a really good dimensional look because the gesso has spread out a little bit. I'm going to have to move this a little bit closer so I can see. Okay, so I'm now over stamping this with my VersaFine. Can you see the white behind has just given it a little bit of dimension, and it's just making it look like there's a layer on top of our gingerbread biscuit. But you see, because we've got that splodging out of, it's made her look more like a biscuit. And then if you want to continue and embellish, you can paper piece a little apron for her and go to town. But I just thought that gave a real cookie look. And you imagine doing those, do 4 of them on a rectangle of silver card with a silver frame around it, so it looks like a little baking tray. And you could even sprinkle some, I don't know why I'm doing that for sprinkle, sprinkle some glitter across the background to look like the flour or the sugar or whatever on the baking tray. If you've got white embossing powder or a really nice white ink pad, I think StazOn used to do a nice white ink pad, you could not do the outline in the dark colour, you could just stick to the white, and then you've got a little gingerbread biscuit set. Also, if you wanted to, you could use your crocodile. I won't do it to that one because it seems a bit cruel. But here's the little paper one that I practiced on. So just cut it out. So again, following the inky blob. That cut out, they look even better. So that onto a silver tray. It just looks like, but if you got your crocodile or a hole punch and did, this is a bit cruel, I'm sorry, this seems a little cruel. But you could have it, hang on, so it looks like someone's taken a bite out of it. Okay, so that's that one. But don't forget that now that technique only works with the gingerbread people because they are roughly symmetrical. If we try to do it with the house in the set, you would end up with your chimneys on the wrong side. So that technique only works with symmetrical stuff. Right, move that up to there. That's that off the list. Right, let's play with our gingerbread houses first. Carol, I'll ring you back in a minute. It's all right, that was really weird. A phone call came up on top of that. That was a bit strange. I know who it is though. It's Carol. Not that Carol, different Carol. Right, so what was I going to do? I need a piece of A4 card. I want to do a scene. I want to create a scene. I don't mean like stamp feet and create a scene. And because the house is like a little row of houses, but I want to cheat on some of it. So I've taken a piece of A4, folded it in half, and then folded the front back in. And I'm going to cut the top off. And then from that top, I'm going to cut a wavy, snowy scene. Okay. Which is going to get stuck down there in a minute, which is going to create our snow. And then we're going to have our gingerbread houses in the background. So quickly, I'm going to stamp these and cut them out very quickly out of brown and add some white detail to them. I've got this colour of brown, which is just very gingerbready. Okay, so let's just quickly, I'll only do one or two houses. You don't need to see me do this to all of them. But you do need to see how cute these houses are. I mean, look at that. I want to live in that house. Wouldn't fit through the door, but... And if it was made of gingerbread, it wouldn't be left very long. If anybody's been to Grasmere in the Lake District and tried the gingerbread from there, you will know why I can never live in a gingerbread house. The detail on these is fabulous. Okay. I'm doing one of each. I should be able to cut them out quite quickly. There we go. Very quick cutting out now. I mean, to be fair, houses are a nice quick. I am going to leave a little bit of brown on the bottom because I haven't decided yet if I want the houses to be flat on the back or foreground. So I will decide in a minute. Right, here we go. Round we go. So I'll leave a little bit because then that gives me a tab, because I haven't decided whether I want them to sit like this so they're forward. Might like that. And then my last one, my favourite one, the one I want to live in, which I have already cut the bottom off inadvertently, but that's fine, it can sit on the back. Right, I just want to create a very simple sky now because I've got the snow at the front, got the houses. So let's just whiz that over there. Unfold this a little bit and then hope I've got a blue. I have. I've got faded jeans. Let's make this a little bit more interesting than just inking it up blue. So let's do some layers of blue. I need a bigger piece. I need a bigger mask than that. That'll do. So let's get some colour down. So we're just creating like a snowy scene in the background here. And I'm working with this card sort of as if it was opened out. Okay, so we've got one layer, move that along. Sorry, I'm off the page there, I do apologise. Just see, it just creates almost like it's a cloudy night. So you've got these different layers of blue. And then we've got that white there. That'll work. One bit of interest in the sky. And what we happen to have in this set is the most adorable little star. So we can just add some of those, keeping it kind of a little bit subtle. So by stamping in the same colour as I inked the background, it's not too glaring. But then the moon, I want the moon to have a feeling of it's glowing. So I want to, just about where I'm going to stamp it, I want to create a little void. So I've spritzed the back of the moon with some water. I'm then going to press my stamp down into it, which will then lift away some of the colour. Yes, I need to. Yes and yes. But can you give me until the weekend to sort out stock and get it where it needs to be? Because I need to have a little bit of a count up once Yodel have collected the last bits and get it on the website. I say the advent calendars have kind of snowballed a little bit and caught me out. So I'm a little bit behind in terms of getting stuff on the website. So if you can bear with me, and then I will get you sorted in terms of those. Right, okay. Because I've just cleaned the back of it, it needs to re-stick. So I'm going to cheat. So you see now our moon is glowing. Okay, right, we can quickly... So that gets glued to there. So what I did was the bit I cut off, I flicked around so the fold's in reverse, and then you can glue it to the other one like so, and you've got a little bit of dimension. And then we're just going to add our gingerbread houses. So this one, see, I could stick it to there so it's got a bit of dimension. Should we do that? Or do we have it at the back there? Oh, I don't know. I'm going to swap. I'm going to swap the big one to sandwiched in there. So let's get him glued onto there. You, of course, will take more time doing projects like this. And then, yeah, I'm going to snip his bottom off. Close that down for a second just so I can decide where he's going to go. And then the last one on there as well. Add some glitter, add some greetings, and then you've got your little gingerbread village. You could obviously continue along there, add some of the details. In the stamp set, you've got this really lovely curly-whirly sort of flower bed made out of candy canes and sweets, so you could fill in the gaps with that. But I just wanted to show you that way of sort of creating a little scene just by messing about with how you cut your cards. Right. Brain now in overdrive. No, 2:30 for work is not great. Yeah, the strut frames, I just think anything you do in a card you can put in a frame and it's just going to be really nice, and they're lovely. Right. Pantone, masked off, over stamp street. It's collage stamping, why it's not on that. Right, okay. Oh, I know what it was. Yeah. Right, it's all very well making notes of ideas as they pop into your head. Right. This was something we did at the weekend, but I had a thought. Scary, I know. But it's the break the golden rule stamping, which is where you layer pieces of card and then over stamp the edges. But I had an idea, and I sort of did mention it on Saturday, because we all cut our mats and layers perfectly, but I wondered how cool it would look if you did torn edges. So I've just used a little bit of masking tape there to hold my layers in place. And then I'm going to grab some of the stamps. I'm going to go with the little gingerbread people. And I am going to stamp over all the layers. Now, when you're stamping over layers like this, you see where the card is? It's lifted the stamp away, so you get a halo. So at the moment, that looks a little bit odd, because obviously our gingerbread man has got bits missing. I'm just going to rotate him round so it looks like he's tumbling, and we'll fill in the gaps with some sweets and candy canes and things like that. But try not to worry about those edges, because we are going to mat this. But instead of matting it with straight edges, which would be the opportunity to show you my clean trimmer, we're actually going to do torn edges, because I think that might look quite fun. And I'm going to show you a cheat on doing the torn edges to the right size. Oh look, he fits in. Okay, and then the little stamps sometimes are easier for this, because obviously they can aim to get in the gaps, but you don't want it to be just on the one layer. The whole idea of this is it looks like you've cut it out of multiple pieces of paper and then stacked it. Okay. Right, that'll do for now. So, we did do our heads in at the weekend because I'm trying to remember the layers. So, quickly remove the masking tape and a bit of glue, and bring it well away from the edge of the card or paper that you're matting and layering it onto. And I thought I was going to go red, green on this just for a bit of fun. So again, and this is, if you're doing something like this technique, it is sometimes better to let the glue dry before you attempt the next bit. But I don't, of course, have that luxury. Oh, I turned that one over. It's this one I wanted to turn over. So I am sticking these well away from the edge. Okay, and I'm trying really hard to keep them up the right way. Right, so once the glue is dried, use your fingers and your thumb to guide your tearing along. If you find that there's too much bulk there, just pull it away, cut away this. So use your thumb to guide. Your thumb on your least dominant hand is the one protecting. Okay, so that you can then control your tearing. And as tempting as it is to rush, take your time. And also, by doing it this way, you're going to maintain the white edge where you want it. Okay, so that's one layer done. You see, when you put it on and you line it up, how funky does that look? And then we're just going to quickly do the green layer, but not quickly, because what did I say? Don't rush it. If you find that you've got excess there, just take it away. You know we don't waste anything. It also might be easier to work down on the table so that you can guide it along. And again, if it's a bit too much there. You can take a little bit off. But just follow it round. Use that one thumb to protect. And then that will always maintain your... So there's that one. Then that one. Doesn't that give it a really nice collagey feel? And then last one, you would do that one as well, if you wanted to, or leave that one straight. I think I would actually take that one down as well with the torn edge. The only thing to watch is your lining up, but generally you can see it. But because we've got the white torn edge there, if you get it slightly off, it doesn't overly scream, but it just gives a really nice, interesting layers to your topper. Then your stamped image in the middle, or your greeting. That's another nice one. Tracy, that's really late. No, you're fine, Tracy. Don't worry. Right, so that's that. Okay, we are getting... Oh, we'll keep those. All those bits, we know what they're going to get used for. Right, Pantone. Don't know if I've got my Pantones here. I thought I'd picked some Pantones that would be the right gingerbready colour. I've put them somewhere safe. Right, so let's do a little bit of masking. Where's my masking tape? I literally just had it. Let's create a fun little thing. I'm going to go with straight edges here, but again, you could do torn edges of your masking tape. Don't want to... No ideas. Messing in my head. Just thinking that's sort of kind of candy cane-y, isn't it? I'm just playing. Well, let's just divide this all up a bit like this, and then we can just go to town, can't we? Get an edge going down there, so we've got a straight edge. There we go. Yeah, I don't know. Move that up a bit. Right. I have no idea what colours I've got because all the colours were downstairs for workshop and I just grabbed a stack. So who knows what colours we're going to get here. And now this is something I don't normally do. I'm aiming at different colours in different panels here. I'm going to blend them together a little bit. But I just thought that might be sort of a bit fun as well. So I've got a decent amount of colour there. I'm going to change my sponge. And I just spotted wild honey. I'm going to take wild honey across the whole lot. Just to give it a little bit of warmth. Because we are talking gingerbread and... Okay. And the warm honey is going across everything. I have no idea what this is going to come out like. And sometimes it's just about messing about and seeing what comes. Right. So let's start with a biggish stamp. So let's start with one of the gingerbreads. And yeah, I'm going to stick with the brown. That's the fallen leaves. And I'm going to try hard not to worry about where the edges are, because we know that always gives a more interesting look. Okay. Right. I'm now going to do one of the houses. I don't know whether this is going to work. I'll tell you what, I'm going to have some interesting masking tape. And then we're going to have one coming in like it's been swept. We're not in Kansas anymore. I think I can just about fit this into one place. Okay, so I'm starting to run out of spaces where I can get full stamps. So let's tone it down to slightly smaller. Let's go with, I don't want to go completely small yet. So I think I can fit a couple of him in. See, I'm thinking I could stamp there, but actually I'm going to waste all of that. Now let's go to the star, because that's quite a nice small one. So actually that shows it up better than when you saw it earlier. I'm just aiming for gaps. Try not to overlap with any stamp that's already down. Once you start doing something like that, it's very easy to forget about the masking tape, because I'm not looking at it. That's why I wanted, you know, I know there's a space there, but I am aware that there is masking tape there. And then I'm just going to move to the tiny little sweet. So whenever you're doing things like this, you always start with your biggest stamps. Now, sometimes the biggest stamp, it's not necessarily about the physical size of the stamp. You might have two stamps that are very, very similar in size, but it's how intense they are. So if it's a very solid stamp, that's going to be more intense than a very liney, sketchy one. So when you're deciding what stamp's big and what stamp's small, also look about how much actual area touches the paper, because that's what's going to make it more intense. Right, I think I'm happy with that. Now, can anybody remember what order I put this masking tape down in? Okay, so no, I can't. It's the only trouble when you've done a lot of rubbing over the top. If your masking tape is kind of fresh, it can sometimes snag on your card. So if you've got a very sticky masking tape, just de-stick it a little bit. You can't. It's a fine line, because you want it to be robust enough to withstand the inking, but you also want it to peel off again. See, I love that crispness you get when you. How fun is that? Just from, you know, stamps that you wouldn't necessarily think of to collage stamp, how funky is that come out? Just add a little greeting, mount it onto some black, and you've got a really contemporary looking one. Or you could just cut it into strips. You don't have to use the whole, rotate it round as well. Do you want it portrait? Do you want it landscape? You could fold that. I mean, it would make a really fun, if I'd have thought about it, you could cut across there and have that panel open and then have that design on the back. Just to sort of, no, I can't even easily show you that. Yeah, so you'd have it like almost like a gatefold card. Or there's some really funky templates at the moment where they pull apart like that. I just think that's a real contemporary look. And also not colours you would associate with gingerbread men. So collage stamping like that. Yeah, if it sticks, Julia, just sort of dab it. What we used to always do is dab it on your sleeve. So there's a bit of fluff off your, warm it with a heat tool and it comes off. That's a good idea. Could warm the room as well with the heat tool. It is cold. Right, so there's that one. Right, how are we doing? Oh, good gracious me, look at the time. Okay. I wanted to mess about with a waste not, want not. And now, quick refresher on Waste Not Want Nots is all your little scraps of paper get stuck on. So you get a piece of card, slather it with glue, blah, 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 like this. All your bits and pieces, all these bits you've saved get torn up and stuck on. Okay, just randomly all over until you can't see any white at all. Okay, now I did that earlier so that it'd be dry, but you'll see that there's some gold embossing on there. Now, some of the embossing was from leftovers from the weekend, so where we'd done some cutting out, so I kept those bits. But these bits are where I just got my glue and just did some smearing like that. And then I took my gold embossing powder, which I had, and sprinkled it on. And then tip the excess back in the pot, etc., etc. Let me just get a bit of paper and heat it up. And you get these fabulous panels of gold, which look really, really interesting. But I want to up the ante on this a little bit. So let's just heat set this. It's going to take a minute. Please note the colour of this heat gun as well. It's nearly clean. Nearly. So this could be any colour of embossing powder. I'm doing gold because I happen to have gold kicking around. Okay. Let's just get that set as well. Right. I'm then going to grab one of my stamps because I want to do some over stamping here. So just add in some little gingerbread chaps in. Bits of them. Again, not overly worrying about where it's going. Okay. I could add gold embossing powder to these as well, but what I do want to do is grab my little star, ink it up ready, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to reheat some of these patches, and while it's warm I'm going to press the stamp into it, so it's going to add a texture as well. By inking the stamp up, it's doing two things. One is it means it will be released from the embossing powder, and two, if I miss the embossing, I'm still going to get an impression because it's going to stamp. I'm going to stamp it not necessarily smack bang in the middle of the embossing powder. So you just keep going till you see it, that it's melted and bubbling, and then take your stamp and press. So you see how it's gone into the embossing powder and off the edge there. So it's pressed into it, so you've got a little bit of texture. So reapply some ink, pick another area where you've got some embossing powder. If your embossing powder isn't very thick, reheat it, sprinkle some more on and heat that in as well. But I'm going to go for this area here. So just get it going nice and warm. Warm my fingers as well. As you can see, it's sort of almost bubbling or moving around, and press. Again, coming off the edge, so you're getting that really interesting look. Okay, we'll do one with the moon this time. So grab the moon, and I think we'll go for that patch. No, that patch there. So remembering to ink it up. For the two reasons. Yeah, we'll go here. Or here. Here, because there's not much else there. Doesn't really matter, because we're going to chop it up in a minute. This is like another layer on Waste Not Want Nots. But using glue to get patches of embossing powder down is lovely, because you get these big bold swooshes of it. Okay, I think that's warm enough. Down we go. And you just get, and that would look really nice as a panel on a card as well. You know, get a scrap of coloured paper, do a swoosh with glue, and then do your it's not ultra thick because we've only done one layer, but I love this idea of it coming out of the embossing onto the plain paper, onto a, you know, a piece that's not embossed, but the design continuing. I think it's just a really different look for embossing. Right, let's now chop this up, because that's the joy of waste not, want nots. Now, I haven't got a straight edge today because I don't know where I've put them. Oh no, my ruler's downstairs, my old school ruler. So look at this. I haven't cleaned it. This is a different one. I have treated myself to a different one. They're not available anymore. So I was a little bit like, oh. Right, let's go with 2 inches. Look at that, it cuts as well. So yeah, I found a used one. This apparently has been used. Not by me, it hasn't. So I am still going to, although it is nearly spot on 2 inches, I am just going to trim it as well. And then I'm just going to square it off on the back. And then we'll see what we've got. Because this way, I don't know if those embossed things are falling right bang in the middle of the square. It's going to have that organicness to it. And I'm being really good and not turning them over. And which means I'm inadvertently muddling them up as well. But as we saw with that masked off one, just because they're not stamps that immediately scream collaging doesn't mean you can't use them for that. Okay. Oh, one turned over. Didn't want to see it early. Look how clean this trimmer is. It's obscene. So I've decided the messy one is going to stay at home, and this nice clean one is going to be my studio one. Would anybody like to hazard a guess of how long it's going to stay clean for? Answers on a postcard. Will it even make it to the new year? Okay, let's have a look what we've got. So I would probably put a tiny bit more glue under there just to get that corner down. Oh, that's nice how that one's fallen. I'm trying to find, where's the others? Oh, the moon's chopped in half. Oh, that star's nice. It's just off to one corner. The gingerbread men aren't cut in half as much as I'd planned. I know you shouldn't really chop gingerbread men in half. But you've just now got these really interesting little panels to use on your cards. And one idea I thought was, and I did pre-cut this just to save on time, is cut a window, badly cut window. Stick one of these behind it, and you could either stick it flush to the back or on the inside as well. So I'm just going to glue that down. I don't know if this is the one I wanted to use, but I can. So glue it so that it's peeping out. And then what I thought was take another piece of card, stamp old Gingy onto it, and then chop him out. I was going to do this all as a one. I was going to stamp it there, then cut out and everything, but my cutting's not that great. So quickly cut him out. And then stick him over the hole in the card. So he's got this fabulous, interesting panel behind him with flashes of gold and all sorts. And then he's, again, this could be one on brown paper, so he's got a bit of a contrast, but I think the white against the various colours within the waste not, want not. Round we go. So you've got your interesting panel there, and then him on a bit of white so that he just sort of stands out against that interesting background. But these are just, you know me, I love these so much. You know, just a panel like that with him just white, one of the houses. Have I got any houses cut out? No, I haven't. But, you know, just a little house on there. Just really, really nice and simple. But I love this idea with the embossing powder and then that little stamp, half on, half off. So you're getting that contrast of the texture and then the straight. I just think it's a really fun way of using your embossing powder and a slightly different look. You give it a whiff. Oh, you're so optimistic, Lucy. Bless you. Although it might do. When you say a week, do you mean to the start of next week's Facebook Live? Oh no, because I'm pre-recording. Ooh, yeah, maybe. Might, maybe not. Right. So, quick recap because it's nearly an hour. Sorry. So, we've done Waste Not, Want Nots, playing around with embossing powder on glue. We have done some masking. We have done water stamping to create a halo. We've done an accordion card. We've done back of the stamp stamping and then over stamping. We've done paper piecing and collaging and cutting out. We've paper pieced and we've done gesso. We've stamped with gesso. We have done all sorts. Again, we've crammed in quite a lot there into the hour. I might do, you know, like I did a little reel just on the skeleton leaves last week. I might do a little reel just on that technique alone because I think that's a really nice one. And I just think that topper alone, matte and layered and with maybe Make a Wish, because that sort of have like a comedy feel to it. So I hope you've enjoyed this evening. Hang on. Let me just flop round. Hello. So yeah, hope you've enjoyed that. That's the last of the Christmas stamps for now. I will be next week. It will probably be based on the Butterfly Kisses set called Far Away, which launches on the telly on Tuesday. Don't ask me what time. I think 6 o'clock. We'll check that. So yes, so next week Facebook Live will be a live but not live. So it'll be a little bit shorter, but I'll get that filmed and uploaded so that you can see it same time, same place. But it won't be live because I'll be at a garden centre in amongst all the Christmas decorations. Could be dangerous. They've got a virtual sleigh ride. Wow. So yes, so it'll be Butterfly Kisses, Far Away it's called. I'll try and do a little reel just on that technique there so that we've got a better version of that. In the meantime, start stalking the postman because the first lot of advent calendars will be going out Friday and the others will be following very shortly, Monday or Tuesday, depending what time of day they get picked up. But apologies, but it is worth it because these ones here, I mean, that's a lovely one. But yeah, just wait till you see them. They are amazing. So hope you've enjoyed this. Now I'm finding buttons. There, I'm finding buttons. I will see you same time, same place next week, although I won't be live. But you'll have something to mess about with. In the meantime, check out the website because I have just put up some new workshops for January, including an online stamping one. So for those people that can't make in-person ones. Also, there's some in-person ones. There's a mixed media mayhem and a stamping one where we'll be doing all sorts of stamping stuff. And they're for January. And I've put them up now. So if people go, what do you want for Christmas? You can suggest workshops. In the meantime, cuddle up warm, blankets, hoodies, log burners, hot cups of soup, hot chocolate, anything that will keep warm, because it's going to be cold for the next couple of days. In the meantime, I will see you Tuesday on Hobby Maker and here on Wednesday. So take care and keep warm.